This is Andrian.
And this is Ray. Welcome to the Talk Live podcast.
Every 2 weeks, we'll invite a new guest and
In every session, we'll dig into their life, relationships, and perspectives.
one question at a time.
Let's talk live!
Yay. Welcome to our second guest. And this time we've invited Eugene Chan. Woo! And then this topic, we'll dive into talking about entrepreneurship because Eugene started his own career. And we want to deep dive into how it gets started. And that would be like the EuCan production. And that would be the first episode. And the second episode, we'll talk about how he found his passion. But how did he actually get started? And that we'll talk about in this episode. And Ray will do a brief introduction of how he met Eugene, because to me, I've known Eugene from Ray, basically. But then, who's he, Ray?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, welcome back, everyone. This is Ray, your co-host for Talk Live. So today, I think we're very lucky to have Eugene from EuCan Productions. As what Andrew mentioned, we're going to touch on some of the core topics on entrepreneurship. And I think we're very lucky to have Eugene. So Eugene, basically a longtime friend. I think we go back to university days when he was just a freshman and I was a residential life mentor. But just a quick summary before we dive into, deeply into the life of Eugene. It's gonna be a nice and chill session on. It's a Saturday morning here, but whenever you're listening after work, hopefully you are getting some value out of it, right? Because that's the purpose of the podcast.
If you are an MTR, MRT, or if you're on the bus, you can just listen to us, because right now we are on a few different platforms. We are on Anchor Podcast, we're on Breaker Radio, we are on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. So review us on different podcast platforms, but probably most likely Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. But then and then now I'll throw it back to Ray to talk about Eugene.
So let me just give probably a 30 seconds to a minute introduction of Eugene. So Eugene, really great person, but going to the credentials, right? So basically, he has a bachelor's degree in engineering. So very interesting, someone from a technical background. But he always has a passion for filmmaking, content creating. So during his time in university, he actually started a lot of different side projects, which I had a chance to be a part of. So that's how we actually got close. So you can tell, I'm actually not into acting, etc. But when you have passions and content, a lot of ideas, you need someone to put together. Somehow I'm just at the right place sometimes to actually help him and his team create those different films into reality. Yeah, so based on that, he actually graduated from HKUSC. That's how we met. And he kind of just took the route, which I'm very proud of, and we're all proud that in HKUSC that we have people that not just follow corporate jobs.
Thanks, everyone.
So basically today we really want to dive, because EuCan Productions, from our understanding, started in 2016. That was when his year 2 or year 3 in university. So right now it's actually it's a sustainable business, right? Yeah. And it sort of became a career for you. And now you have a small team and you really focus on commercials, films. So want to really deep dive onto those topics. I'll pass the stage to you, Eugene.
Sure.
But then let's have Eugene talk about himself first.
Exactly.
To introduce himself to our audience, because actually for me, I don't really know Eugene at all.
No
so
problem.
It's basically a podcast that I need to listen as well.
So you know that Andrian actually have very little friends. I wouldn't say little, like we are all exclusive. Yeah. If you're in his friend circle, you're someone very special. Yeah, that's what I can say. So for those listening that knows Andrian personally, kudos.
Shout out to all of you.
Hopefully I'll be in that circle after this, right?
Sure. You are, yeah.
Okay, a bit about me. I am from Hong Kong. I was born in Hong Kong, and then I grew up in Toronto for several years, and then I came back to Hong Kong for my high school and university, and that's when I met Ray. So I have a pretty international background in that sense, because even in Hong Kong, I went to an international school. And
which one do you go to?
I went to KCCIS.
What's KCCIS for the people that are listening abroad or within Hong Kong? Yeah,
it's Kang Soo Check and College International Section. It's quite a mouthful. So that's how I didn't think of it.
And I love the way you pronounce, Kang Soo Check. It sounds very Canadian.
Gotta make it official, right?
If we say the Malaysian way, it's like Kang Soo Check International School.
Could I do the Indian accent again? Kang Soo Check? No, that's not even Indian. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to the Indian audience. Okay.
And you were saying,
Kang Soo Check, and then how do you went abroad to Canada? after Kanshu Check?
No, before.
Before.
Yeah.
So you went to. So how old were you when you were in Canada and then you came back to Hong Kong?
I think I was maybe 4 to 12. Maybe.
All right.
Yeah, around 8 years. When just after my brother was born. So around that time. Yeah.
All right, the good old years. And then you came back to Hong Kong to study high school
Correct.
and to study university.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say majority of your time spent growing up is still in Hong Kong, right?
That's correct,
It's
yeah.
just that you have that, I would say luxury, right? That at such a young age, you get to explore another place to
Definitely.
grow up. Yeah, and it sort of became your identity, right? In some ways, yeah. But I would say a lot of your thinking, your thought process was in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's very interesting. So for I because this main audience of our podcast is people from the region, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, etc. So it's really relevant to those people that wants to start off their own business in starting from a passion project to become something. So hopefully we can explore more on those. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we can turn this podcast into what EuCan Production is today.
To inspire every single one of you.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
So we can talk about like the next.
Yeah.
We can dive into our next because we really want to talk about like EuCan Production in the first episode on how basically you got started. Because from what I've heard in our brief introduction, just like 30 minutes ago, you started it back in 2016,
Right.
basically. So how did you even thought to like start like this project of yours? Because for us, is it hard for you to like find something or you even have the will? You thought of it, but you won't do it. Like for this podcast, I've thought of it for like around a year or two.
Oh, wow.
But then
Okay.
finally I found like Ray. Okay, I was like, Ray, you talk too much too. Let's just do it. But then how do you actually start EuCan Production?
So are you asking me how I began the company or how I found my passion in filmmaking?
How you start the company first, I guess.
Okay, so how I started the company, it was 2016 and my roommate, Sid, we were thinking about, okay, I love filmmaking. I filmed like startups here and there and like some short films. And we thought, hey, what's the craziest thing we can do right now? Make a company. And then I thought, so difficult. You need so much money. You need like to register bank accounts. So I was just like, maybe not. And then we did some research. He's my roommate. So like we stay up till like 2, 3 a.m. And then he's like, actually, it's not that difficult if you go for a partnership, unlimited. And really, he was the push for me to like go for it because it's a little bit daunting to go for yourself.
Yep.
So he really was the support that I needed to take the first step. Yeah. And it was also because I had a client, which was our university. They were like, hey, you make short films. Can you make a short film for our info day? I'm like, yeah, why not? But then in order to get paid, you need to have a BR, a registered company. And I'm like, oh.
BR for those out there is business registration.
Business
right?
registration, yeah. So I'm like, okay, why not? Let's just do it.
So that was your first paid project to get you like started off.
As you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before that, I was actually flown to Italy to shoot pre-wedding photographs.
Right, I remember. Yeah. Maybe we can, for those listening, if you want to explore on pre-wedding stuff, Eugene can do it too.
Or basically anything related to film. Right?
Anything. Filmmaking, photography. It was in my year one, my high school friend's mom owns a travel agency. And she was expanding to pre-wedding photo shoots overseas. And she's like, hey, I think you do a good job. I want to fly you. I want to pay you to take these photos.
And you were a model
film
too,
it.
right? And you were a model too, if I remember. You were part of the wedding shoot, if I remember.
A tiny little bit, yeah.
You were sharing me like, hey, I was a model. And I was like, wow, this freshman or year 2 guy is so cool. Already flying to different places.
To
and,
take photos.
And videos,
If anyone watching the YouTube, if we are actually editing it, then hopefully Eugene would send us a photo of that and we can show it on
Maybe.
there.
But no, I was mainly the filmmaker and I just so happened to also be, a little model in the background. But that was one of my first big projects. Yeah.
Can I touch upon, because there was someone, and that person was Sid, right?
Yeah.
So he was if I caught it correctly, he was the main person that really motivated you to start. You already had the idea, but turning it and executing to a reality, that extra push really helped, right? And I think it's sort of, we can relate to that, right, Andrian? So actually, I didn't have this idea of starting a podcast. It was really Andrian, but I think sort of he needed a push, needed someone, and then
He was
I
my
just,
push.
I wouldn't say I was a push, but I was just a factor that's, yeah, let's do it together.
Yeah,
Let's do it together.
I think a partnership or like two people, you get more motivated. Like you got someone that you know you can rely on and support you. So that's basically how we got started as well.
Yeah.
And I think actually Ray is a very important person in my life as well. Oh my god, sounds so okay.
Remember, this podcast is for EuCan Productions. Keep it going, Andrew. I want to listen more.
Okay.
Yeah, but then because that's how we got started, and I was like, I need to find someone who I'm close with, because or else this podcast is gonna be like too formal, or like it's gonna be like corporate. We want to be like breezy, easy, and just like get it flowing.
Oh, thanks a lot, Andrew. And yeah, I'm blushing a bit if you guys are tuning in from YouTube. But going back to Eugene's story, right? Because Andrew and I are close friends. You and Sid were roommates, right? It's like everyone start up were like finding people that they're close to, living together. But Sid, I just want to understand, how's the current relationship with you and Sid? And did you guys set rules, very clear rules from the beginning? Because a lot of times when starting a business, right, you need, no matter how good of friends you are, I think, Andrew, we should have this chat too. Basically, you need to decide on who owns what. And when one day you guys make money, how would you actually do the profit sharing, etc. Because down the road, when you go through that journey, right, I'm sure, because EuCan is already beyond infancy, because you guys are already making money, the ideas are being realized. So just want to understand your thought process, how you dealt that from the early days of EuCan Productions. Was that actually part of your thought process? Do you guys have like some black and white contract in place, or like a agreement that you guys did? So just want to understand and dig deep into those areas.
Okay.
Then we can go into how you actually started and take EuCan to the next heights.
Okay. So in the beginning, we did have a split. So back as college students, we didn't have that much liquid funds. We didn't have that much cash. In order to start a business registry and a bank account, we needed 10K Hong Kong. And our shares were divided into that 10K.
Okay.
So I had 55%.
Okay.
He had 45%. So that's actually quite a high balance, actually.
Yep.
And when beginning the company, you had to have a document, an agreement saying who's in charge of what, how many percent you own, etc., etc. So that was the beginning. And he was mainly in charge of business development, all the businessy kind of document stuff. So I wanted to do more of the filmmaking stuff. But that's on paper. But as a company that's just beginning, you're really gonna do every single thing, every single night. So it was more official documents, but in real life it was everything. Yeah.
You guys basically do everything, right? It's like, I don't think you guys care about who does what, etc. As long both of you are hustling.
Yeah.
That is the main responsibility that you take and hold each other account for, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, why I'm sure you didn't expect this, but suddenly just came to my mind that, starting a business is all fun, but finding the right business partner is also very important.
Yeah.
And how you actually scale out, and then, because it's all fun. Well, it is fun while you're having fun, making money. But, I sound a bit gibberish now, but I think it's important to let people know that the beginning and setting the right foundation, the right mindset is so important.
It is.
Before,
And you really have to find the right business partner. I have friends whose parents or like family members partnered up with someone and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
I'm very lucky in the sense that Sid was a very supportive friend, and he wasn't doing it really for the money or for anything really, except to like really push me. He's actually no longer a partner.
Yep.
So EuCan's my own now. And
so 100% is all to Eugene Chan,
correct.
Right?
But even when he bought his shares back, he was very...
Yeah, he just took his initial capital and that's it, right?
That's it. He was super
Sid
nice
is a
about
nice
it.
guy, by the way. Yeah, Sid is... shout out to you, Sid.
Sid.
No, what I meant was shout out to you, Sid. I know you're based in Sydney or Melbourne in Australia.
Yeah.
I think you should be finishing... he should be finishing his master's.
He's getting into
biochem.
PhD soon,
Oh, PhD, wow.
Yeah.
So I think, it's interesting to see like how people come and go in your life. He's still part of our lives, but then how they come at different stage of your life and they make that catalyst. They become
Such a big
catalyst.
impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just really, really interesting story to hear. I think it's the first time of me hearing, that whole process.
Yeah.
Partnership with Sid, etc.
Right.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So I just now more about the exciting stuff, right? What is EuCan basically? Just give a quick introduction on what EuCan is, then we can really go into your whole thought process or journey around it.
Sure. So the reason why it's called EuCan Productions was, so my name's Eugene Chan. So you take the EuCa from Chan, and that makes EuCan. And I thought, if Eugene Chan can do it, You can do it too. I don't think I was super privileged. I wasn't poor, like I wasn't poor, but I don't think I was super well off.
Yeah.
And I think I really hustled for a lot of the things in my life.
Yeah.
And if I can do it with all the disadvantages or all the struggles that I had to go through, you can do it too. You really can. The only limitation in your life is you. When you put your heart to it, there's really nothing you can't do.
Yeah, the can-do spirit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I think it is something that really defines you, because it is what helped you get started on the whole project.
Yeah.
And that's how EuCan Production was born, in the campus, in your dorm room, doing your own thing, even though there are a lot of supporters on the way to support you throughout the way, but then you define your own path. And then you took it from 2016 to now 2021. You basically made nothing, and then now you are basically have like a production house. You like employ a few staff to do your like videos. And Eugene was just telling us that he did a music video last night, and he filmed it till 1, 2.
Yeah, yesterday we began at like 7 a.m. and we finished at like 1, 2 a.m.
Yeah, and then now it is basically we were at his house at like 10:30 to bother him. So that's dedication right there.
Yeah, the hustle is real, guys. Yeah, it's all nice and rosy, but actually starting and running your own business, it takes a lot of
effort and
passion, dedication, sacrifice sometimes. Yeah, so I also want to understand.
So I want to touch on hustle.
Yep.
You talk about hustle, and it's a lot of people will say, I have to grind, I have to like hustle for this, or like I have to work like such long hours. But actually, for me, whether or not I get paid, whether or not I have this client or not, I will be doing filmmaking anyways. I will be writing scripts, editing. So to me, it's hustle, it's work, but it's not like, oh my God, I have to work. It's like, yes, let's do it, let's work.
Yeah.
Let's make this film nice. So in that sense, I think there's a negative connotation to hustle. I just want to say hustling is not bad all the times. Yeah.
If you're doing something that you enjoy doing this podcast, like even though we had to wake up at like
I won't call it hustle, but I think I like the way Eugene put it, right? Not hustle. Hustle, there's a negative connotation that comes to it. And actually doing this podcast, we can call it a hustle. Yeah. I call it a side passion project.
I think it's a side
but some people
passion.
Call it or can call it a side hustle. So
because to us it's not a job per se.
Exactly.
It's like a hobby.
Yeah, we don't get money from this. Yeah. So thanks everyone for listening. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Two guys that just have too much to say in a podcast. And that's why talk lah.
Let's talk lah. But I feel like there would be a lot of challenges throughout your career, or like on setting up EuCan, or even doing like, there are probably moments when you thought, should I just not do it? Okay. Right? There would be probably a few times.
Before you made money, etc. Because it's more because when you think about entrepreneurship, right, starting something new, like what Andrew said, like it's you like to do it, but there are trade-offs.
Yeah.
And in HKUSC, you're surrounded with people that go and are bounded by corporate jobs. Yeah. People want to go for a very standard, mundane, I wouldn't say mundane, right? Like a standard corporate
routine
job. Yeah. And it's stable.
Yeah.
It gets paid. You get paid well. So how did you explore enough? And then, there must be some challenges, some insights around that. Yeah. What was your whole process like from university transitioning into EuCan, even though it's like a nice hustle?
So you're asking me about internal struggles and challenges I had.
Yeah. Okay. You can share about your whole process first, and then after that you can go into your internal struggles.
Okay.
Because I think it's because you are an inspiration to us as well, like for a podcast, because you have your own production house. We probably would never be able to do that, or we would never aspire to achieve that. But I think for a lot of people who are thinking of starting their own business, there are probably a lot of thoughts involved. So we just want to understand your thinking process, your mindset, and how you overcome it. Or are there anyone or anything that was like turning point for you? Yeah.
Okay. I think in the beginning, I don't know if it began Productions yet, but I think in the beginning, in university, I was surrounded by so many business people, engineers, and doctors and lawyers, and it's a little bit scary because everyone has that fixed
path, right?
You know where they're going. They're going to be a doctor, they're going to be a lawyer. And it felt very safe. It felt like a social norm. It felt like society accepted it, but not me. And it was a little bit scary because I thought, wow, my friends are going to be like big shot doctors and lawyers and engineers. They're going to make big things in the world. And I thought, I'm just a kid with a camera. And in the beginning, I was very insecure about that. And I thought people might look down on me for not going the safe route, if you will. But I realized actually all of my friends thought that was pretty really cool. They're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I thought you were really cool. And that's why I was like, "Yeah, can be in your films, man." Yeah.
But I realized it was
actually Ray was started in one of the films.
I was pretty shit, but then EuCan made me look cool. Yeah.
We would put the link in the description
down below.
Yeah.
Back to memory lane. Yeah.
Yeah, but I realized it was all in my head, and all my friends were actually saying, it's really cool. So it was just me not accepting the fact that you don't have to be an engineer if you don't want to.
Yeah.
And obviously my parents wanted me to be an engineer. But I think after you realize that it's really your calling to do something, it doesn't really matter what everyone else thinks.
So your parents supported you?
No, not in the beginning, no.
Not in the beginning.
I mean, even now it's like, yeah, you go do you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they never, or did they actually, they just turned from not supporting you to be like, okay lah.
Yeah. Okay lah. Yeah.
Okay.
And hands now and talk lah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning, when I was in...
Eugene's parents, you should be proud. And please listen to this podcast.
in the beginning, I wanted to jump to film school.
Oh yeah. We can talk about that a bit. Yeah, because I know. By the way, Eugene had the struggle when after he graduated, right? He actually wanted to really further deep dive into the whole world of filmmaking, getting bigger gigs, etc. And he thought one of the ways would be doing grad school in filmmaking.
Yeah.
In a prestigious one, right? One in the UK and one in America, right?
And one in Canada, yeah.
Exactly. But I remember you actually, we had this chat a couple of times actually.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, actually I had no idea about filmmaking. But then back then I was like into YouTube and all, which didn't work out by the way. But anyways, but I gave my honest feedback, right? Saying at the end of the day, because you're getting, and I think you also had some sort of epitome, right?
Yeah.
You were saying like, hey, you are actually learning much more from those courses. But I think why you wanted to join those courses is because you wanted to get the network.
The connections, yeah.
That's the main thing, right? And then you started to realize that, hey, you can actually get your own connections, your own network, find your own niche without filmmaking, without grad school.
That realization was really important to me because film school, if you don't know, is very expensive. It's like 100, 200K a year annually. I think more.
Hong Kong dollar, right?
Hong Kong dollars. Hong Kong dollars. That's really expensive. And network is important. There's two things here. Network is important. Yeah. But if you go to film school, you'll find other filmmakers. But if you want to make money, if you want to shoot commercials, you should meet these people. You need these connections. You need business connections. And that's important. And second thing is...
Ray said he did a referral, right?
By the way, so I think connections is important, but it shouldn't be like the main thing that you...
Oh, no, for sure. No, that's all I meant.
Yeah, I know. It's just by chance, etc. So which leads to the point, I actually work for Microsoft, right? And then Microsoft is one of EuCan Productions house accounts.
Yeah.
I would say now a house account, right?
Yeah.
Like quite a number of projects.
What is a house account? For those who doesn't know, actually, I don't know.
House account would be an account that, you have a lot of... business project, and it's sort of becoming a recurring revenue.
It's like a retainer.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Andren's industry, like it could be those big brands. You in real estate leasing, right?
Yeah, we don't call it like a retainer.
Okay.
We probably retain people. For example, we have like a lawyer company that is, we hire them as our retainer. And then we probably have like a PR company as our retainer as well.
Okay.
And then so a retainer, and then that's how you got started, and that's like a few projects going on.
But like Ray said, it's not about not business connection. I mean, I knew you way before Microsoft.
It's not like you meet people with the
intention of like, I want business.
Yeah, of course.
I think that is something that I was thinking the other day, is that if you go into that relationship or that friendship with that thinking in mind, you're gonna screw up that relationship.
Yeah.
That's just like a very business sense. It's like an insurance agent. Like, they just Instagram or DM you or like WhatsApp you.
Yeah.
You just feel like they have something, like a purpose in mind, and you don't really want to be.
I think in the beginning when I was helping my friends or meeting friends for the first time, I was obviously they haven't gone into the business side of things yet. I just genuinely wanted to help them.
Yeah.
Like film their course videos or take their LinkedIn photos. I genuinely, if I can, why not? It doesn't cost me anything. I help you, and then everyone's happy.
Yeah.
And I think maybe my friends understood that I genuinely want to do something good for them, and that transition to the connections we have now.
Yeah.
And I just want to jump back on the
Yep.
film school thing. With $200,000 Hong Kong or however much, you can learn a lot online these days.
Yeah.
Masterclass. You can buy a very nice equipment with that money, and just practice. School is there as a platform for you to learn and to try. But if you're really passionate about something, you're gonna try it on your own. So it depends how motivated you are.
Yeah. So on-the-job training is more important, basically, is it? Or like,
For filmmaking,
yeah, for filmmaking.
I think hands-on experience is quite important. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. But how did you get started? Like overall, like just now we've heard you got started from HKUSD, but how did you actually scale it, basically?
I think it would be interesting to know and more relevant to people like that are planning to start their business and actually might have already started. How did you get your first paid engagement? Because I think after getting that paid engagement, it sort of changes things, right? Like, you can actually make money out of this.
Okay. How did I get my first client?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you can talk about your first client or your first big project or the project that made you feel that
It was a turning point. Yeah.
EuCan Productions could be a livelihood.
Okay, so it's not like the beginning. Oh, I filmed for a startup.
Yeah,
It's like
up to you. Yeah, whichever kind of project that made you think that, oh wow, EuCan Productions is here to stay. I can actually make a career out of this. Yeah. Or did you have that mindset right from the beginning already? Yeah.
Okay.
So you can share anything that you feel comfortable sharing.
Wow, that's gonna be a long answer.
It's fine. Yeah, we have time.
Okay. Okay. So, I think let me just process that a little
Yeah,
bit.
you can process it, but me and Ray, we can bounce a bit off each other because we've seen like Eugene started his career from like university, and then I was like, because we see a lot of people start their own business, and for me, I think I admire them a lot because like when starting their own business, they're risking their career. Like for me and Ray, I would say we have a corporate job in a way.
But I think, Andrew, but at one point, I actually look up to you because you always had the mindset to start your own business, right? And you actually tried a lot of different things in university, right? You started a tutorial center, etc. So I found that was, you had your fair share of entrepreneurship. Yeah, so maybe while Eugene is planning out his responses,
answer,
you can share a bit of that side of things.
Yeah, actually, I never really started. I wanted to kickstart like a tutorial center because I still want to start a home tutorial center if anyone is interested from the podcast to invest or do it with me. But then I think I really wanted to start my own career because I don't want to be bound by like a 9-to-5 job as well if I ever can. And I always tell Ray, hey bro, do you have like a new idea that we can
that's
do?
a problem. I feel like it's very hard to get that idea.
Yeah.
So I think we can also explore
I think
that
an
with
idea,
Eugene later.
an idea that you would think that is sustainable or you think there's a niche because there are a lot of companies out there that are not making money or that is not sustainable. They're only focusing on how much client they have and to be acquired. But for me, I want to create one with like social impact. That's why I thought of starting my own tutorial center back in the day, even though we really didn't.
But you made some money from it, right?
Yeah, made
At
some
one
money
point,
from like teaching students.
So you're an investor, right? You put in some money, or you just were one of the tutors?
I was one of the tutors for like a tutorial school in Hong Kong. But then afterwards, I thought, hey, we can do better than the tutorial center or like, because basically it's like if you are in one of the field or you're in marketing firm that you thought, okay, I can definitely do something better than that. And you would start your own career in marketing field, but because you have that, which echoes to our last guest, Sonia. Like she was actually just working for a corporate job. She was working at Lane Crawford, but then she was getting into like bar, and then she started her own career in bar as well. And then like I think that's the process. You have like the inside knowledge, you know how you can do better, and then that's how I think I wanted to start my own tutorial center back in the day. But then I think like how I actually wanted to do this podcast is sort of related to my tutorial days as well, because I think teaching people or helping to inspire people is a side passion of mine. I think everyone wants to influence people in a way or two, but then I think by teaching people, you actually help shape their mind as well on their own career path, or like high school students on how they actually tackle different issues. That's why this podcast also is echoing back in the day how I want to shape people's mind. And I think Eugene probably has a lot of interesting thing to talk about how he started his own career and how it actually was a turning point on like EuCan Production being successful, or like that is something to stay. So how did it do?
I think just one quick point before we go to Eugene.
Yeah.
Eugene seems ready
Yeah.
to share his answers.
I think so.
But I think I completely agree with Adrian. Actually, one part that hit me was for me, it's actually why I decided to do this podcast is I just like speaking to young people, helping them. And it's not to say I'm that old, but just having that 1 or 2 year or that additional experience ahead of them, and you're able to give them some hindsight, learnings, reflection. I think I really enjoyed that process, and to see them take those and not make your mistakes.
Yeah.
Actually, you're not giving them the answers. You're giving them the how. The why always comes from them themselves. You can never give someone the why.
Yeah.
I think the how. I think hopefully this podcast would give that how through the different lives and sharings of the different guests that we have.
Yeah.
And throughout their answers, we can also give a bit of how we think and reflect on those situations.
Yeah. Let me jump right back in before Eugene, sorry. No, because I would say myself, I made a fair share of like mistakes in my life. And I think hopefully Ray would agree that he did his fair share of mistakes throughout his career.
I mean, everyone has mistakes, it's normal. We're only human because of our imperfections,
And I think that's why I don't think anyone or everyone would just listen and just buy the idea because they need their own trial and error. But we just want to remind people and learn from like people from Eugene on how they learn from their mistakes or how they learn from the whole process. For everyone listening or wanting to start their own career or even just want a 9 to 5 job, how do they avoid some of the typical pitfalls that might be easily fall into? So now let me pass it back to Eugene.
Sorry, I want to ask more about you actually. So can I just one quick question? When you guys were when you wanted to begin your tuition center on this podcast, what was the thing holding you back?
I think what was holding me back is I didn't find a right partner. Like I didn't find Ray back then because Ray weren't into like tutorial centers. But I think finding the reliable partner that you can share your risk or your passion with is very important on like starting your own business. Because starting your own career, you had Sith to basically support you in the start. But then I think finding a tutorial center or like starting one, you need someone whom you can 100% rely on, or even 120% you can trust to start something. And I think that was the biggest part that was holding me back, because I think capital is not something I wouldn't say I'm privileged, but I would say that capital wasn't the biggest issue, and my parents were supporting me throughout the way as well.
Ooh, Adrian is loaded.
No, I was just average family.
Adrian is pretty well to do, I would say. I think,
Hey,
if we take things into perspective, just so that we get personal with a bit of our audience, right? Like, I think we all come from, we're not from poor, we do need to work, but I think we are pretty okay from that standpoint, right? Our parents could give us an education. I think that's very important, right? So I think we're all quite privileged from that, but obviously we're not like Li Ka-shing or all those like super rich. I think to get there, it's all up to us and how we actually embark on this life. And we probably might not even want to get there. Right?
I think we're comfortable with where we are, and we are basically all pursuing things that we want to do. Like Ray is enjoying his sales role. Eugene is happy with the EuCan Production and he's doing very well. And then I'm happy with being like in a corporate job, like doing properties, which is something that I enjoy. But then would there be a next step? I think we might if the future, because I think in Cantonese there's a saying, 船到橋頭戰. Like I always really believe that, because I think for a lot of us, we never know what's the next step until the opportunity comes. So basically to answer Eugene's question is, I think finding the right reliable partner to support you in the business sense, not in a relationship sense, is very important. And I think that was part of the biggest issue that I didn't really like start off in that. And then it's very insecure back then, because when you're that young, when you're younger, when you're still in university, you thought of dreaming about having like a big tutorial centers. It might like start off really well and you might make a lot of money. But I think COVID teaches a big lesson, is that there are a lot of risks involved and you need to find the right moment, the right people to survive the difficult times. Because back then when we were still in university, I think the business was still okay, was still good. But if we actually started a tutorial center, then I think today we would be in a very difficult position to survive.
Yeah, but I just want to quickly talk about business partners for a bit. I think this is a very important thing for young entrepreneurs to understand. Is I think Andrea right now is leaning very, very towards having a business partner. I just want to say, if you don't think you need a business partner, or if your business doesn't require one, don't have a business partner. It adds a whole new layer of not just profit splitting, but that's also like conflict. If I want to do this project, you don't want to do it differently, that's a whole new layer of decision making and like conflict that you might not necessarily want. And one of my part-timers was asking me, he's like, I want to maybe do what you're doing. I want to maybe do a partnership as well. And I said, why? Same thing as what Andrew said. But there was no
need for it, right?
Yeah, there was no need for it. Especially if you say you have the capital. Sure, the risk in what? You have the capital. That's not risk, right? I mean, it is risk, but you already have the capital. You only raise it. And I think it's more about feeling secure and not failing alone. But failure is the tuition to success.
Yeah, a learning process.
The more you fail, the more you'll learn. And that's much more valuable than school, I think. Yeah. But to answer the question that you were asking me earlier.
Yeah, let me summarize the question again. So because for those that are still tuning in, basically that question was, I think it probably hit the spot, right? And that's why you needed some time to structure it. Because that question was about when was that turning point you realized what's that project or that process or that particular event that made you realize that EuCan could be something that you can make money out of it and could be a passion plus your job.
Or like, you can do it.
100%. I think there were 2 points. In the beginning, to get our very first client, our thought process as a business was, okay, we'll try to reach out to clients and cold call, cold emails. We didn't do that much, but while we're doing that, we will create content. We will create short films. We will create ads, spec ads, and that builds our portfolio. So even when we don't have work, we're creating something. And that in itself is work, right? As a business, you're creating your own content portfolio. And that was the thought process. And that was actually how we landed our first client. And actually, I think all our clients to date now is ultimately thanks to the portfolio that we built in the beginning, filming those short films with Ray, storytelling.
Glad that I was part of it.
But that ultimately led to, let's say, HKUSD saying like, oh, your films have a human aspect to it. You're not just making commercials, you're telling stories. That's why they hired me.
Humans of HKUSD.
Humans of HKUSD. I worked with a company called Digital Rev.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about that too.
They're a YouTube channel. They were the most subscribed photography channel on YouTube. Wow. They had like 1 million subscribers.
Wow.
And I was their host. And through them, I worked with big brands. We're talking like Panasonic, Sony, big conferences. And that gave me the exposure that I didn't know I can get from just making short films with my friends. And then ultimately, other startups, bigger startups like Klook, and Peninsula, and like other bigger hotels and companies saw that I had an eye for storytelling. And it just really snowballed into that EuCan effect, you know?
I can actually remember, I think I was a year into working. And that's when Eugene was always, I think that's when we also started getting more close, right? We're always meeting up and I think one of the reasons why I actually moved to Wan Chai or decided to move to Wan Chai was Eugene. But of course, rent prices was a big factor.
Of course.
Hey, we all cheap, man. Like we all fresh grads, a few years in the bank. So I think it was like as a friend, I could see it's like really exciting too. And now I didn't know that was a turning point, but because I thought, back then it's like you're already making it. So I think it's just exciting to see that whole thought, that whole growth, that whole process. And back then, I think, I think it's also interesting you landed those projects, right? All under EuCan. It was a lot of projects and the numbers were huge, some of them. But I also want you to share more about how you use that money to actually reinvest a lot of it to EuCan, and how you actually scale it.
Right, okay. If we're talking about numbers, I'm not going to give you an exact number, but I think around last year, that there was a specific month last year, late last year, that was a really big wow moment for EuCan Productions. We hit a specific number in terms of revenue that I just thought wasn't impossible. It wasn't just impossible. Right? I was just like, whoa, that's a lot of money in 1 month. I'm like, whoa, that's a huge amount. And to a lot of people, when you have that amount of money, like we're talking over like 100K a month,
Yeah,
like easily 100K over a month, and you're just like, whoa, that's a lot of money. It's easy to spend it all, you know?
Yep.
But I think in that moment, I really had to like deep dive as a entrepreneur, business person. How do I delegate that money for cash flow reasons?
Yeah.
Let's say I don't have any more clients in the next half a year. How do I pay my employees? How do I pay rent? How do I get new equipment to film new jobs? So it was more like allocating funds, because as an entrepreneur, your money, your income, every single month is completely different. In 2020, it was like zero, maybe like a bit more, and then down again, and then went up like that. So for like half the year, EuCan had no money actually, and no revenue during COVID.
And before COVID too, right? During the protests, a lot of your
lots of clients
your
canceled.
work canceled, right? I remember.
Yeah, so it was really knowing where to place your money and how to dedicate like different amounts to like what kind of investments you want to put into. And it's realizing that as a business, you don't do monthly salary. It's an annual balance sheet. And that was the moment when I had my turning point, when I like hit a really high number, and I'm like, okay, I need to save this much for at least sustaining my part-times or my employees, this much for rent, and this much I can maybe on new equipment. Yeah.
I think that's I think it raised an important point that did you have any finance background? No, right? You learned this all yourself, right?
Yeah.
Can you also share more on that? Because I think that's going to be very important. I mean, not so interesting, but hey guys, like if you have a business, finances, and how you actually manage it, how do you go about learning all these? Did it all just come to you, or you had to look up on YouTube, or you had to reach out to a mentor? Yeah. Did you have any of that help?
It was a lot of YouTube and a lot of podcasts on entrepreneurship. I recommend The Future by Chris Do. It's really good on entrepreneurship for creatives. But I've always been very sensitive when it comes to money. I think we talk about being privileged.
Yeah.
But yes, my family's like definitely within the privileged region. But I think after I turned 18 going into university, I stopped relying on my parents. Not because they couldn't.
Well, even for university?
No,
it's like,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Impressive.
That's really impressive.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
for those out there that thinks that they are underprivileged, think twice. But I'm sure everyone has their own stages or upbringing. Yeah, so just embrace what you have, and it's not impossible to go through the tough times.
Yeah.
And I think Eugene is just one of the perfect examples that at the age of 18, I didn't know about this, so that's really, probably you told me, but
I'll just quickly go through it. But it wasn't that my family couldn't help me out. I didn't want to burden them anymore. And after 18, I got into HUSD full scholarship.
Wow.
And
Congrats.
thank you. And I think by choosing to be self-sustaining, it kept me hungry to keep working, to like keep really pushing myself in terms of pursuing my passion, but at the same time earning money. Because obviously you have to pay for hall fees, you need to eat, you need to hang out with friends. And it was just constantly being on the lookout and saying yes to opportunities and giving it your all. And money was important to me, but it was also balancing the fact that I want to earn money the way I want to earn it. And that's through filmmaking and through my passion. And I think by being hungry, it actually kept me so driven. Like, because I was working while having to study for exams and midterms. So when I went to Italy for that shoot, I was gone for like 2 to 4 weeks. So it's almost a month.
Wow.
And it was my midterm. I was like, oh, damn, but I can't not go. It's such a good opportunity. It paid well. And I'm like, screw it. I'll text my professor. And my professor was like, you're such a special kid. Skip the midterm. I'll pass you. I'm like, ah.
Oh, wow. That's a great story, actually.
That is.
And he said, that's something you can't learn in school. And he passed me. And it would happen a lot. I would have to work during the daytime. I would have to go to film. So I would skip classes. And then I would have to stay in the learning commons and study till like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and then do it again every single day. But I never complained because I enjoyed it. And I knew this is the way I want to do it. I'm not going to give up my bachelor's degree, but I'm not going to give up my passion.
Yeah. Which is very insightful, honestly.
Really deep. Did that line get you? Like the point when you say, I like to make money the way I want to make money. I think that is so powerful. And that kind of relates to financial freedom, right?
Yeah.
You get paid at your own terms. You don't really sell your life for 9 to 5 jobs are not selling your life. You're benefiting a lot of things based on different platforms.
Yeah.
But I think it's just so powerful if you can have something that you like doing and you get paid for.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
want to lead on to the next question?
Which is on do we still want to talk about scaling? Because just now we really didn't touch on like scaling.
Yeah, I think we should because I think now EuCan Productions have sort of passed the infancy stage. I think we did have some chat on how you actually want to create instead of one-off projects to recurring. Yeah. And then by recurring, it will then give you more time to scale EuCan, right? Because then you can do more business development. So I think what's your plan for the year or the 5 year ahead? Yeah.
Okay. If we're talking about growth as an entrepreneur, as a business, I think number one thing you have to learn is to let go. I think as an entrepreneur in the beginning, in the infancy stage, you're doing every single thing, from the finances to the filmmaking to like the business development. If you want to grow, and that's why I realized, that's why I hired more people. I need to get people who are as good, if not better than me, to do the jobs that I've been doing all together. So everyone's more specialized and they can be more efficient. They can spend more time on each thing and be better. And in order to grow, you need more than yourself. Entrepreneurship it's not solo entrepreneurship. So I think part of growing was to get better people than me to join the team and who are on the same mindset and have a plan. So that's number one. I think that's a mindset thing for growing. Number two was we started creating content again. So actually for the past year, we didn't really make many short films or spec ads because business was good, So I was like, okay, we don't need to make any more. But that put us in a little bit of a hole where we didn't try, we tried, but it wasn't as creatively stimulating. So I think in order to grow, you have two options: really specialize in what you're doing, or expand your skill set. So instead of just filming corporate videos, we do live streams now, we do music videos now, we do beer commercials. And it's about what kind of business step you want to take. Yeah.
And you guys haven't really specialized and really bet all into one aspect, right? I noticed because you guys do commercials, you guys do music videos, you guys do a lot of different kind, maybe in the wedding space, but I think right now you're still exploring on which areas you want to scale, right? If I'm reading it correctly.
Yes, correct. So we took the other route where we're really trying all types of filmmaking in a wider business sense. Just because I think our team is young. Our team is in their 20s. So they're all really passionate and really into exploring and innovating new ways of tackling an old form of, let's say, live streaming, making it a lot more cinematic. And I think it helps keep the team innovating and creative, and it provides a nice different streams of revenue, because live streaming in 2021, 2020 became a big part of our income actually. And it was something that we had to learn, but it was really fun. We had like walkie-talkies around, talking to each other, like, get the shot, change the camera, and it's a lot of fun. But like, it's like a relationship. You need to do new things to keep it interesting.
You're trying to know something. Live streaming is like a mini TV broadcast. Is that right?
You can say so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting. You diversify into different areas, and I think if you find like an area that is like have more business or pays well, you can basically dive more into that area. But I want you to understand a bit more about video production. So each field, there are some specialized equipment.
Yes.
And some specialized effects that you need to do. For example, I think live streaming nowadays, if you are very specialized, you have those subtitles, or if you have those titles about what you're selling or what you're promoting, and that's basically live, right? So that's another huge involved in cost on new equipment that you need
and learning to
and you probably need to find someone who's like an expert or like to ask. So how do you actually learn? I don't think YouTube can actually teach you so much about how to set up a live stream well, right?
Okay. So your question is how I learn new skills and the equipment cost, right? Yeah. Well, equipment cost goes back to me having
split into a few pools.
Yeah, so like I talked to you about earlier about how we save a certain amount of income for new equipment in case a job needs it. So that's that. And in terms of learning, YouTube is a good starting point in terms of like getting the basics, like functionality of it. But I think before a shoot that requires, let's say, live streaming or a new setup, we will try it in the studio or at home, like, several times. By the time you get on set, it has to be muscle memory. So like when I set up the camera, when I set up the live stream, or when I change anything, I should be able to do it with my eyes closed. I should be able to do it like no sweat at all. And same with my team. It has to be perfectly, like a perfectly well-oiled machine. It's just, I think it's a lot of practice after the initial YouTube tutorials or like master classes.
Trial and error is very important. I think what we've learned as a person as well is a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
It's not just. It's probably not just about like video production or like
Yeah.
podcasts. It's basically live advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the hands-on part is really crucial, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's such a new industry, right? And I can totally understand your strategy that you don't go deep yet. Eventually, you will. But I think the market in Hong Kong, at least, or even within the region, right, is just so untapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones that are dominating the market are those traditional production houses.
Yeah.
And they are really old school. I mean, they have all that nice fancy equipment, but they don't have that mindset, that idea, that eye for that.
They don't have that. They don't have that
Exactly.
innovation, and that was actually one of EuCan's like mission statement, if you will. It's to like deliver value to the clients. Really, because I think a lot of people don't know, but film production actually costs a lot of money.
Exactly.
But in Hong Kong, from what I've seen, a lot of the productions for that amount of money should be a lot better. You pay that amount, you should be at least getting here.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure whether my clients, like let's say a big company or like a small startup, I want them to make sure that they're getting the value that they need. And it's just better representation of filmmakers.
Yeah, no, because I think for me, because I work for like a property company, we are actually doing like a PR job as well.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of audience, we are curious. I'm curious
Yeah.
to how much should an average short video of like a 5 minutes, like a short clip or storytelling should cost, basically, so we don't get scammed. Because right now, we got a quotation for like a few $100,000 for like 4 short clips of around like 2 minutes. 3 minutes. So how much should like a short video itself cost?
You got quote a few $100,000 Hong Kong dollars
Yeah.
for 1 5
For
minute video.
four short clips of like around 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, it also depends on.
Subjective, right?
It's subjective, but I just want to.
I mean, I can do a little role play with you and
yeah.
like do like what
Yeah.
a client call would be like, but. It depends who you're hiring. If you're hiring a single freelancer, like one person, like let's say a kid out of film school, that kid's probably gonna charge you anywhere from 3 to 7K for one video. Yeah.
How about for a team?
For a team, you are.
A semi-professional team, let's just say.
I think for the scale that you're looking for,
Yeah.
like not just like a small startup,
Yeah.
it's definitely gonna be over 40, 50K
Okay.
for one video.
Okay. So for our audience, it's 40 to 50K for like a few minutes clip.
Well, it also depends on how complex it is, right?
Yeah.
I think just based on what Andrew has shared, I think it's very hard to name like a ballpark
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Because normally you have to understand what's their vision, do they want to, I think.
So I like for example, if you were my client,
Yeah.
I would first have to ask you, why is it for 5 minutes long? Why is it for 5 minutes? Is it on Facebook? Is it on LinkedIn, YouTube?
So different platforms.
Yeah. So
It would varies on the dimension, on like or the clips
so
duration.
let's get into a little role play
Yeah,
then.
go
Okay,
for it, go for
let's say you call me.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Eugene.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Pretty good. How's your day?
I'm good. I heard you're looking to make some PR videos.
We are looking for like a production house that can help cater to our needs.
Okay, what's the purpose of these videos?
We would want to promote, like, we can even be more specific. I don't think my boss is listening. We want to talk about coffee.
You want sorry what?
Talk about coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we have a few new coffee shops in the area and we want to highlight them. We want to, we are open to different film ideas, but probably we can have a few storylines, for example, like a family coming to like our properties and you can come enjoy a cup of coffee. That's basically our first storyline.
Okay, but as a company, are you trying to increase the sales of the coffee shop? Or are you trying to inspire other? Because you are a real estate
Yes.
company. Are you trying to encourage more sales within the existing coffee shops, or do you want to rent more coffee shops?
We want to do more branding, so indirectly increasing sales, but we don't target sales as the KPI. But we want to improve the branding and create the awareness of coffee in the area
Okay, so coffee shop rentals indirectly.
indirectly.
Okay, and how are you thinking about distributing these videos?
We are looking for like Facebook, Instagram would be our key, but then we are also open to other platforms. For example, we might open border soon, so hopefully WeChat, Weibo, Little Red Book would also be a platform to do these. But I think the majority of the platform these days is Instagram.
Instagram, okay. And do you already have concepts in mind?
We may have a framework, but then we are also open to discussing with your side, because for us, we are a property company. We don't know the upcoming trend or like the right now what is the typical duration or the production of how a video should be.
Right.
We are open to discussing.
Okay, and in order for this video to be successful, what is a measurement that we can use?
We would use views as a KPI,
Okay.
as well as indirectly we would also want to see the awareness on the video. For example, how many people have viewed it, as well as how many people, because there might be some incentives involved for the videos. For example, if they watch a video or if they show the video, they can get like a 10% discount in one of the coffee shop. Then we would measure that in that sense. So we do a campaign base, but then video would be part of it, and your side would be helping us on production.
Okay. And in terms of the audience, these are people who may live in the area or work around that area. Am I correct?
We are open to all sorts of people, but right now we are open to 4 types of people. For example, we have the tai-tais, the ladies in the area with the office crowd.
The one with the money.
Yeah. We have the family, as well as there are a lot of coffee shops around like these days. So we want to also target the coffee experts.
Okay. And when you say coffee shop, are you looking for are you showing the interior? Are you showing the neighborhood? Are you showing the quality of the coffee? What is the one thing that you guys want to focus on?
We want to focus on could be the variety or the depthness of coffees that we have in the area providing. Because right now, for your information, there are a lot of coffee shops specialized in different areas. Some of them, they tell you they do an in-house roastery. They roast their beans, like coffee beans, in-house, right there on the spot. Maybe that could be a selling point. So we have a few varieties, and some of them, their selling point is they have a cozy area for you to chill, for you to enjoy the coffee. So for different coffee shops, it's different. So we're doing more of a branding type of video, as I sort of mentioned, not just like a specific.
Got it. And how many coffee shops were you?
We want to feature 4.
Feature 4 coffee shops.
And hence 4 videos, right?
Right. Okay.
4, or you can do, because basically we want to use 4 videos to target 4 different segments. But then we are open to just focusing on one segment for now. If we think that this could be our first project together and see how the noise is.
Okay. And what's your timeline looking like?
We are flexible on the timeline, but hopefully we can do it by Q2, like complete by Q2.
Okay, so finish release around June. Okay.
Well, right now it's around Feb, by the way, mid-Feb.
And do you have a budget for this already allocated?
We want to listen to your ideas and how it might impact on the cost, but we don't mind like hearing your cost breakdown and what you may pitch to us. So we are open on the budget. Right.
I think if you want to learn about cost breakdown, it's normally divided into 3 parts: pre-production, production, and post-production.
Okay.
And I think you honestly know production and post-production, that's filming and the editing. But what a lot of people don't understand is pre-production is also a cost that we have to take into account. And that is actually very important because we have to really understand your audience, really get into a deep dive conversation with you about who your target audience is, location scouting, and really, we can make a video for you, no problem, but we want to plan it and pre-production it so that once we make the video, it's effective. That's why I'm asking you about your KPIs. What's your purpose? What's the goal? What's the ultimate value you want to bring to your customer and value I can bring to you? Because we want to make sure the final video gets your goal achieved. Yeah. So that's the 3 costs that are involved.
Okay. So what would be the cost that I may be looking at?
We're probably looking at around, for 4 videos, for 4 different coffee shops or 4 different areas, it can range anything from, let's say, 50K all the way to 200K.
15 to 200.
50. Oh, sorry. 4 coffee shops, right?
Yeah.
So that can actually range all the way up to 100 to 250K.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good estimate, I would say. It's still cheaper than what we are quoted.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's a pretty good role play.
It's a good exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like the whole idea. Thanks for doing that, and
Yeah.
for sharing a lot
Thank
of
you.
your business secrets. Don't worry, your boss is not watching, but you can tell, right? There's just no one way of doing things. Like traditionally, like what you were quoted by those production, I'm not sure if they went through this whole exercise. Probably not as elaborate. From
Oh,
this.
really? They didn't talk to you like that?
Because what we did was the whole campaign
Yeah.
itself, but not like specifically just talking about video production.
Right.
Because I think for a lot of company, we don't do like one company doing just one
You have
spot.
an agency,
We have
right?
an agency
Sort of, right?
doing
Yeah.
covering all sorts of area. For example, they would also help us do PR, campaign management, tenant coordination, as well as video production and Facebook, Instagram plug.
See,
or
this is,
KOL.
as a business, that's spreading yourself too thin, I think. A lot of companies will do everything, digital marketing and like PR, HR, and by the time you get to video, it's just like,
one
No,
part
I
of
think,
it.
I think when companies are big enough, that's what they want to do.
yeah. But
Single vendor to cover everything. You know, from Microsoft, right? We want to do everything from the tech. That's why we look at our whole products portfolio. It's really end to end, and that's why there's people that are gonna disrupt the specific areas, that specific niche. And that's why I think like based on that role play, I can just feel it. Like traditional production houses would not be able to have this level of discussion, right? Like asking so intricately about what they want about the vision. Because I can tell, like based on the questions you ask, sometimes Andrian was like, oh, I haven't even thought about that. And he's just giving you an idea. And then they slowly appreciate that journey, that partnership, and realizing that dream video or that output that at the end is gonna like wow the world. And if not in terms of views, etc., you can actually pay for those views. But you want to get, and I think a lot of local production houses actually blast out the videos. They pay on the spot, like ads and everything. But to have a video that's impactful, I think I'm learning a lot from this whole process.
Me too.
Because my goal is to make you the best video I can, whether or not you do it with me or someone else. I want you to like make the right choice. Like I said, I want to make sure, like earlier, I want you to have the value that you deserve for what you pay. So I just want to make sure whoever you do it with, you do it correctly and don't waste your money and don't have to film it again. And like, it's also your audience. Don't cheat your audience, you know? And actually that was the easiest client role play ever. Normally clients have a lot more objections, a lot more questions that really...
I think we're just being nice to you, Eugene. But I mean, I think it hopefully, thanks for doing that. I think you have a case in mind. Thanks for sharing that, Andrian. Hopefully, for those like
who is actually still in university, that's basically how your 9-to-5 job is from my perspective, and how EuCan Production or like a startup environment could be on a call, or you actually doing like on a PR site. That's basically how it is on like a day-to-day basis. So I think it's an invaluable experience that is that was part of our podcast somehow.
Very ad hoc, very real, very casual.
It's very raw.
I like it because I think there's one point that I wanted to bring out that in terms of the it just slipped my mind. Continue other
I think this podcast, like this episode with Eugene, was very insightful. But it's already over an hour, so I want to like just talk. If you could, like the last question before we talk about the episode 2 for Eugene would be, if you could change one thing in the past, what would you change with EuCan Production?
Oh yeah, I remember my question now. Actually it's not a question, it's a comment. It's just a comment, and then we can dive into that. So basically, it's just to tell everyone out there, that role play might seem very seamless, something, but I can tell it's a lot of trial and error and crystallization that Eugene would be able to, because it's his field of expertise, right? But the way that he asked, this is my first time seeing, and I'm actually very impressed. It's like a sales methodology. I remember you asked me how they actually do a cold call, right? So, but now seeing it in person, So my point is basically to start a business, it might be easy starting it, but when you execute and actually learn throughout the process, you can see how crystallized that output, the way that Eugene asked so seamlessly. Oh, let's do a role play on the spot, and then so you can see that there's actually a lot of things that you actually have to push yourself in order to be really good at something. So I think that's what I wanted to raise before jumping in. What's that one thing that
I think let me talk about Ray as well. I think it would be very valuable in one of the podcasts afterwards is to do a role play with Ray as well. we can learn about Ray's method, because he's a very charismatic guy, honestly, overall. And it would be very interesting.
I'll be very shy.
He won't.
Let's do one right now. Let's go.
Let's do it.
We're doing 3 hours podcast right now.
Wow. How long is your sales process?
I'm just joking. Okay.
But so Eugene, let's jump back to you. Would you, if you can change one thing in the past on like setting up or doing EuCan Production, what would you change?
I'm gonna give you the easiest and shortest answer. Nothing.
Wow.
It's
super cliche, but let's hear what you have to say.
Everything's led up to this. And the ultimate question is, am I happy where I am and where I will be going? And the answer is yes. If I change one thing, I might not be here.
So the butterfly effect.
Effect. And there were things that maybe weren't the best in EuCan's journey, but I don't have a single moment where I'm like, fuck, I wish I didn't do this or did something else. And I think, me, I am someone who goes all in. I don't make excuses.
Tesla, right?
In Tesla, baby.
That's good. Yeah, go.
Tesla and Bitcoin. ETH.
Bitcoin.
I think you are who you are based on the people you mix, right?
For sure.
We kind of explore the idea that we are the average of the social network.
You're the sum of the people that you surround yourself with. And but no, I don't have any regrets.
Then what's your next step? If there's no regret, then what's the next step? What's the next goal for EuCan Production?
That's a
Oh, we
good
kind of touched
question.
about that, but you
Yeah,
kind of
we-
avoided away
yeah.
from the question. I think because we have a lot of questions and it's just hard to nail down the answers. Yeah.
And it's such a big question as
It
well.
is a big question, but I
Yeah.
think it also is
Yeah, we
how-
can finish off
yeah, we
this
can-
episode with,
with that
Okay.
question.
with, yeah,
Okay.
what's next for UCan?
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
like the tangible short-term and long-term thing?
I'll give you a few things. Number one, we want to get a proper studio right now, a proper like film studio where clients can maybe come in, or like we can have a proper setup for lights and whatnot. Number two is maybe we can start a podcast too for UCan for entrepreneurs.
Let's do it.
No, yeah. Number three was really how do I put this? Get retainers. That's one of the big business goals of 2021 is to have recurring. So recurring clients are different to retainers. Recurring clients are clients that come back to you frequently. Retainers are clients that pay you monthly to that, and they expect a certain amount of work from you, and that will really help in terms of
The cash flow and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are the big.
I think the last one would be something that you have to really think about and dig deep on how you want to innovate your business model.
Yeah.
Because that can be done. I mean, you sort of have to pitch to your existing retainer customers, right? People that keep coming back for you.
Yeah.
Come up with a model for them to become like a subscription.
Yeah.
That is something really innovative for something that is project based.
I think it's not so hard on my end. It's more on convincing the client and that it's a beneficial in terms of efficiency because I'll be familiar with the client, and in terms of cost, they'll save because of economies of scale.
Yeah, so that's basically a wrap on our first video and first podcast.
First part, yeah. And let me finish off by if you found this podcast useful, I know we actually sidetracked a bit, but I think it's fine. I think overall, if you find it useful, please give us a rating, DM us on who you think should come off next. And we actually started our Instagram page, so it's called Talk La Podcast. Yeah, so you can find us, and then we'll be also uploading that. But I think more importantly, if you found it useful, share it to someone. I think it will make someone's day better or find value out of this whole UCan's entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, and Talk La Podcast, the Instagram is basically TALKLAHPODCAST. So follow us on Instagram or DM us if you have any comments, or if you want to be one of our guests in the next few episodes, you can feel free to DM Ray or myself or DM Talk La Podcast.
All right, feel free to share our podcast to your family, friends, and whoever that you think will be benefiting from it.
Yeah.
All right, with that, signing out.
Signing out is Andrin.
And this is Ray.
Last but not least, last but not least, let me plug one more thing. Is we are on Anchor Podcast, Breaker Podcast, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. Rate us on different platforms, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right, see you guys.
Yes.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.